Beyond the boundary, Vela's antennae twitched nervously as she monitored the deep space scanner. The laboratory was empty except for her. The rest of the research team had gone to celebrate the colony's founding anniversary. The soft blue light of her console reflected off her iridescent skin as she leaned forward, her 6 fingers dancing across the holographic interface. As the archival department's junior researcher, she'd been assigned the least desirable shift. Not that she minded. The quiet gave her time to pursue her true passion, studying the mythical humans. Humans. The very word sent a thrill through her secondary nervous system. According to the official galactic archives, they had been a short-lived, aggressive species that had destroyed themselves nearly 2 centuries ago. Their homeworld, Earth, was now just another tourist destination, a monument to self-destruction. But Vela wasn't convinced. Her research suggested something else entirely. The scanner beeped, pulling her from her thoughts. A small anomaly had appeared at the edge of the forbidden sector, Zone X9. Vela adjusted the frequency and enhanced the signal. The anomaly persisted. "Computer, analyze signal pattern," she whispered. The AI responded in its flat, mechanical voice. "Signal contains non-standard frequency modulation. Matches no known species in database. Similarities detected with historical human communication protocols." Vela's breath caught. Human communication protocols? That was impossible. She checked the signal again, running it through every filter she could access. The results were the same. Her 4 hearts raced as she considered her options. Protocol demanded she report any anomalies from the forbidden sector immediately. But if she did, the military would lock everything down, and she'd never learn the truth. "Computer, prepare my research vessel," she said finally. "Standard exploration package. Authorization code Vela 97 Alpha. Warning: destination requires high-level clearance. You do not have authorization for Zone X9. Vela hesitated only a moment before overriding the system. Emergency Research Protocol. Override authorization. Xenorchaeology Division Priority 1. It wasn't exactly a lie. If this truly was a human signal, it would be the archaeological discovery of the millennium. 30 minutes later, her small research vessel silently detached from the station. Vela watched as her homeworld, a gleaming orb of cities and engineered landscapes, grew smaller behind her. Ahead lay the forbidden sector, a vast region of space, declared off-limits after the final human war. The journey took 3 days. 3 days of alternating between excitement and doubt. 3 days of questioning her decision. What if she was wrong? Worse, what if she was right? As she approached the source of the signal, Vela activated her ship's cloaking system. Another breach of protocol, but necessary now. The signal led her to an asteroid field orbiting a dying red dwarf star. Perfect cover for someone who didn't want to be found. And there it was, a ship, unlike any she had ever seen. Sleek, angular, with propulsion systems that seemed impossibly advanced compared to the crude historical records of human vessels. Vela's ship drifted closer, scanners working furiously to analyze every detail. The vessel appeared damaged but functional, and it was definitely active. Energy signatures pulsed from its core. A communication request flashed across her console. Someone wanted to talk. Vela's antennae trembled. After a moment's hesitation, she accepted the transmission. A face appeared on her screen. A human face. Male, by the look of it, with dark skin, close-cropped hair, and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. "I was wondering when someone would follow my signal," the human said in perfect galactic standard, "though I wasn't expecting a meridian." Vela stared, speechless. A living, breathing human was speaking to her. "How do you know what I am?" she finally managed. The human smiled. "I've been watching your civilization for a long time. Name's Kieran, captain of the Horizon's Edge." "Vela," she replied automatically. "Junior researcher, Xenorchaeological Division. Just you. No military escort, no containment team." "No one knows I'm here," Vela admitted. Humans are supposed to be extinct. Kieran's laugh was sharp. That's what we wanted the galaxy to believe. It was easier than the alternative. The alternative. Continuing to fight wars we couldn't win against enemies who didn't understand us. Vela's scientific mind raced with questions. But the records. Earth is uninhabitable. The Great Collapse was partly real, partly staged. Kieran interrupted. Earth did suffer catastrophic damage during the last war. But humanity didn't die out. We scattered, hid. Some of us went into deep sleep. Others, like me, became watchers. Watchers. We monitor the galaxy. Make sure history doesn't repeat itself. Vela couldn't believe what she was hearing. Everything she'd been taught about human extinction was wrong. I need to see you, she said suddenly. Face to face. To confirm. Kieran nodded. I figured you might. Can you dock with my ship? My life support is configured for human physiology, but it should be tolerable for a meridian. Vela hesitated only briefly before maneuvering her ship alongside his. The docking procedure was smooth despite the differences in technology. As the airlock cycled, she checked her equipment one last time. The atmosphere would be breathable, if uncomfortable. Her recorder was active. This would be the discovery of a lifetime. The inner door slid open, and Vela came face to face with a living legend. Kieran was taller than she'd expected, nearly 2 meters, with broad shoulders and the lean build of someone who'd lived a life of action. His eyes were a startling blue-green that seemed to shift color as he moved. He wore a simple dark uniform with no insignia. Welcome aboard the Horizon's Edge, Researcher Vela, he said with a slight bow. Vela fought the urge to step back. Everything about him screamed danger, not from any specific threat, but from the sheer force of his presence. The legend spoke of human charisma, their strange ability to command attention and loyalty. Now she understood. How are you here? She asked, her voice steady despite her racing hearts. How are any humans still alive? Kieran gestured for her to follow him. The corridor was narrow, designed for utility rather than comfort. The walls were lined with technology she didn't recognize. Some of it appeared biomechanical, pulsing with a life of its own. Humanity had one advantage over the rest of the galaxy, Kieran explained as they walked. We adapt. When the Alliance turned against us, when it became clear we couldn't win through conventional means, we changed the rules. They entered what appeared to be a command center. Holographic displays showed star charts, energy readings, and data streams that moved too quickly for Vela to follow. The official story is that humans destroyed themselves, Vela said. Kieran nodded. That's what we wanted everyone to believe. It was easier than fighting a war across 1,000 worlds. We faked our extinction, destroyed enough evidence to make it convincing, and disappeared. But where? The Galactic Alliance has cataloged nearly every habitable world. Nearly, Kieran emphasized with a smile. Besides, who says we need habitable worlds? We've been living in deep space, in asteroid hollows, on terraformed moons too small to attract attention. Some of us went into cryosleep, waiting for a better time to return. Vela's mind reeled with the implications. But why reveal yourself now? Why send a signal that could be detected? Kieran's expression darkened. Because we're running out of time. He gestured to one of the displays, which showed a massive energy signature moving through space. Something is coming. Something ancient and dangerous. We've been tracking it for decades. It's headed straight for Meridian space. Vela stared at the display. What is it? We don't know exactly, but we've seen the aftermath of its passage through other systems. Kieran brought up another image showing a destroyed planet, its surface cracked and lifeless. Whatever it is, it consumes worlds. A chill ran through Vela's body. Why not just send a warning? Would the Alliance believe a message from a supposedly extinct species, or would they assume it was a trick? He had a point. The Galactic Alliance had spent decades dismantling human technology and influence after the supposed extinction. They'd rewritten history to paint humans as dangerous primitives who'd brought about their own destruction. "So what do you want from me?" Vela asked. Before Karen could answer, an alarm blared through the ship. One of the displays flashed red, showing 3 vessels approaching rapidly. "Meridian security vessels," Karen said grimly. "They must have tracked your jump signature." Vela's antennae drooped. "I didn't think they'd notice so quickly." "They've always been watching the Forbidden Zone," Karen muttered. "We need to leave. Now." You crossed into forbidden space and made contact with a human. Do you really think they'll let you return to your normal life? Best case, they'll dissect your brain for information. Worst case." He didn't need to finish. Vela knew the protocols for containment of compromised researchers. "What about my ship?" she asked. "We'll have to leave it. The Horizon's Edge can outrun those patrol ships. But not if we're towing your vessel." Vela hesitated only briefly. Her entire career, her life's work, was in that ship. But if what Karen said was true, if some cosmic threat was headed toward Meridian space, then none of that mattered. "Let's go," she said. Karen nodded and turned to the command console. "Navigation. Plot a course through the Caridian Rift. Maximum stealth." The ship hummed to life, energy pulsing through the strange biomechanical systems surrounding them. Vela felt a slight lurch as they detached from her research vessel. "They're hailing us," Karen noted as a communication request flashed on one of the screens. "Should we respond?" Vela asked. "And say what?" "Sorry, officer, we're just a supposedly extinct human and a rogue Meridian researcher out for a joyride." Despite the situation, Vela found herself laughing. Another human trait she'd read about, using humor in tense situations. The ship accelerated smoothly, leaving Vela's vessel behind. On the displays, she watched as the security ships approached her abandoned craft. "They've locked onto your ship," Karen reported. "Boarding procedures initiated." Vela swallowed hard. There was no going back now. "Where are we going?" she asked. Karen's expression was grim but determined. "To find the rest of humanity. If we're going to stop what's coming, we'll need all the help we can get." The Horizon's Edge slipped into faster-than-light travel, the stars blurring around them as they left known space behind. Vela watched her world disappear, knowing that everything she believed about history, about humans, was about to change. And somewhere out in the darkness, something ancient and hungry was coming their way. Legacy of stars. The Horizon's Edge emerged from hyperspace with a gentle shudder. Vela steadied herself against a console, her eyes fixed on the view screen. Before them hung a massive asteroid belt circling a binary star system, one blue-white and brilliant, the other a fading red dwarf. The asteroids themselves were unremarkable, just chunks of rock and ice drifting in eternal orbit. Yet something about this place felt different. Significant. "Welcome to Sanctuary," Karen said, his voice tinged with pride. Vela's scanners detected nothing unusual. "I can understand. It's just an asteroid field." Karen smiled. "Exactly what we want everyone to think." He tapped a sequence into his command console. A narrow beam of energy pulsed from the ship, disappearing into the asteroids ahead. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a mirage solidifying, a gap appeared in the field, a carefully concealed passageway. As they navigated through the opening, Vela gasped. The largest asteroid in the belt, nearly the size of a small moon, was hollow. Within its protective shell lay an entire city, gleaming with lights and activity. Massive internal structures lined the walls, and at the center floated what could only be described as a miniature sun, a controlled fusion reactor providing light and energy. "Impossible," Vela whispered. Her people's most advanced sensors had never detected this place. "Necessity breeds innovation," Karen replied. "We've had 2 centuries to perfect our cloaking technology." The Horizon's Edge glided toward a docking bay nestled in the asteroid's inner wall. As they approached, Vela saw more ships, dozens of them, each unique in design but all bearing the unmistakable hallmarks of human engineering. "How many humans are there?" she asked. "Here, about 40,000. Throughout the galaxy?" Karen shrugged. "Maybe 10 million. Most are in cryosleep, scattered across hidden outposts like this one." 10 million, a fraction of their former population, but far from extinct. As their ship settled into the docking bay, Vela noticed people gathering to meet them. Humans of all shapes, sizes, and colors, just as the historical records described. Their diversity was striking compared to her own species' uniform appearance. "They won't harm you," Kieran assured her, noticing her apprehension. "But I should warn you, you're the first Meridian most of them have ever seen in person." Vela straightened her posture. "I understand." The airlock opened to reveal a welcoming committee of 5 humans. At their center stood an elderly woman with silver hair and piercing black eyes. Despite her age, she carried herself with undeniable authority. "Captain Kieran." The woman acknowledged with a nod. "I see you brought a guest." "Director Imani," Kieran replied formally. "This is Vela, xenorchaeological researcher from Meridian Prime." She intercepted my signal. The director's gaze shifted to Vela, assessing her with unnerving intensity. "Alone, without alerting your superiors." "She's risked everything to come here," Kieran said before Vela could respond. "And she needs to know about the Harbinger." At the mention of Harbinger, a visible tension rippled through the group. The director's expression hardened. "Follow me," she said curtly. "Both of you." They were led through the colony, a marvel of engineering and adaptation. The artificial gravity was slightly stronger than Vela was accustomed to, making her movements awkward. The air held unfamiliar scents: growing plants, cooking food, and something metallic that she couldn't identify. Humans stopped their activities to watch as she passed. Some looked curious, others wary. Children, smaller versions of adults, pointed and whispered. Vela found herself equally fascinated by them. They entered a large chamber dominated by a circular table with a holographic projector at its center. The director gestured for them to sit. 2 weeks ago, our deep space monitors detected an anomaly moving through the Vega sector. She began without preamble. The hologram flickered to life, showing a massive energy signature pulsing through space. "We've been tracking similar phenomena for decades, but they've never come this close to populated systems." "What is it?" Vela asked. "We call it the Harbinger, a wave of energy that appears to consume everything in its path." The director manipulated the hologram to show a planet before and after the Harbinger passed. The vibrant world was left cracked and lifeless. It defies conventional physics. "Our best theory is that it's a remnant of the universe's formation, a pocket of pure entropy that should have dissipated billions of years ago." Vela studied the data, her scientific mind racing. "And it's heading toward Meridian space." "Not just Meridian space," Kieran interjected. "Directly toward your homeworld. It will reach your system within 3 months." A cold dread settled over Vela. "My people need to be warned." "That's why I sent the signal," Kieran explained. "We need the Alliance's help to stop this thing. But after centuries of hiding, we knew they wouldn't just take our word for it. We needed a messenger," the director continued. "Someone who could verify our existence and the threat we're facing. Someone the Alliance might actually listen to." Vela realized what they were asking. "You want me to be your ambassador?" "Precisely," said the director. "But first, you need to understand who we really are. Not the monsters your history paints us as." The director activated another hologram, this one showing Earth as it once was. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling in its atmosphere. 200 years ago, humanity had expanded to 50 star systems, she explained. "We were brash, ambitious, creative, and yes, sometimes aggressive. When we encountered the Alliance, we thought we'd found kindred spirits." The hologram shifted to show early meetings between humans and various alien species, including Meridians. "But there was a fundamental incompatibility," Kieran added. The Alliance valued stability above all else. Humanity valued progress and change. Conflicts arose. The director continued. Small at first, then escalating. Some human colonies refused Alliance regulations. There were incidents. Eventually, certain factions within the Alliance concluded that humanity was too unpredictable, too dangerous to have a place at the galactic table. The hologram now showed battles. Human ships against Alliance fleets. Worlds burning. The final war lasted 7 years. The director said solemnly. Earth was targeted first. A preemptive strike to cripple our leadership and infrastructure. Billions died. Vela's antennae drooped in shame. This matched none of the history she had been taught. Those of us who survived realized we couldn't win through conventional means. The director continued. So we devised a different strategy. Apparent extinction. We destroyed enough evidence to make it convincing and disappeared into uncharted space. The Alliance was content to believe we had destroyed ourselves. It fit their narrative about us. For 2 centuries, we've lived in places like this. Kieran gestured to their surroundings. Rebuilding, adapting, watching. We developed technologies that the Alliance never imagined possible, but we never forgot. The hologram faded, leaving the room in somber silence. Why come forward now? Vela asked. Why not stay hidden? Because the Harbinger threatens everyone, the director answered simply. And despite everything, we haven't abandoned our humanity. We won't stand by and watch billions die, even those who once tried to exterminate us. Before Vela could respond, an alarm blared through the colony. A technician burst into the room. Director, 3 Alliance warships have entered the system. They're scanning the asteroid field. The director turned to Vela, eyes narrowing. Were you followed? No, Vela insisted. I took every precaution. She's telling the truth, Kieran defended her. But they must have tracked my signal after all. Initiate defense protocols, the director ordered. Begin evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel. As the technician rushed out, Vela stood. Let me talk to them. I can explain. They won't listen. Kieran cut her off. Not now. To them, this is confirmation of their worst fears. Humans survived and have been hiding among the stars. The holographic display switched to show the approaching Alliance vessels. Sleek, predatory ships bristling with weapons. Vela recognized the design. Meridian Enforcers, the elite military unit. They're deploying mining charges, someone reported. They're going to break open the asteroid. Vela felt sick. Those charges could rupture the colony's containment field, killing everyone inside. Activate the shield already, the director commanded. Prepare defensive countermeasures. Wait. Vela stepped forward. If you fight back, you'll only confirm their fears about humans. Let me contact them. The director hesitated, then nodded. Very well. One chance. A communication console was brought forward. With trembling fingers, Vela entered her identification code and requested an emergency channel to the lead vessel. After a tense moment, the screen flickered to life. Commander Zex, her former mentor, stared back at her with all 4 eyes narrowed in suspicion. Researcher Vela, he said coldly, you are charged with treason, unauthorized contact with hostile entities, and violation of quarantine protocols. Surrender immediately. Commander, please listen, Vela pleaded. The humans aren't our enemies. They've been monitoring a cosmic threat heading directly for our homeworld. More human deception, Zex dismissed. Their manipulation tactics are well documented. You've been compromised. Scan my neural patterns if you don't believe me, Vela insisted. But first, look at this data. She transmitted the information about the Harbinger. For a moment, Zex's expression wavered as he reviewed it. This could be fabricated, he said, but with less certainty. What reason would they have to fabricate this? They've hidden successfully for 2 centuries. Why reveal themselves now unless the threat is real? Zex was silent for a long moment. Even if this Harbinger exists, It doesn't change the fact that humans have violated the extinction accords by continuing to exist. The Council's orders are clear. This colony must be neutralized. The connection cut abruptly. Vela turned to see both Karen and the director watching her with grim expressions. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Karen said, "you see what humans do best." The colony burst into coordinated action. Instead of panic, Vela witnessed something remarkable. People moving with purpose, implementing clearly practiced protocols. The tension was palpable, but controlled. "We always knew this day might come," the director explained as they hurried through corridors now bathed in emergency lighting. "We have contingencies." They entered a massive chamber that Vela hadn't seen before. Inside were dozens of spacecraft. Not warships, but modified transports equipped with stealth technology. "Evacuation vessels," Karen explained. "Each can carry 500 people to our backup locations." Above them, the colony shuddered as the first mining charges detonated against the asteroid's surface. The protective shields held, but Vela knew they wouldn't last forever against a determined attack. "We need more time," the director muttered. Vela made a decision then. "Let me go out there." Both humans looked at her in surprise. "I'll take a shuttle," she continued. "Draw their attention. My people won't fire on one of their own. At least not immediately. It might buy you the time you need." "That's suicide," Karen argued. "Not necessarily," Vela countered. "I have valuable information. Commander Zex is many things, but he's not foolish enough to destroy that information without analysis." The director studied her with newfound respect. "You'd risk your life for a colony of humans you just met." "I'd risk my life for the truth," Vela replied. "And to save billions of lives, both human and Meridian." After a brief consultation, the director nodded. "Prepare a shuttle for the Meridian." "I'm going with her," Karen announced. The director started to object, but he continued. "We need someone who can explain the Harbinger in detail, someone they might actually believe." 20 minutes later, Vela found herself in a small shuttle, Karen beside her in the co-pilot's seat. The vessel was barely large enough for the two of them, but it was fast and agile. "Ready?" Karen asked as the shuttle bay doors opened to reveal the space beyond, now filled with Alliance vessels preparing for another assault on the colony. Vela nodded, her 4 hearts pounding in her chest. "Ready." The shuttle shot forward, immediately broadcasting on all Alliance frequencies. "This is Researcher Vela requesting immediate audience with Commander Zex. I have critical information about a threat to Meridian Prime. Cease attack on this facility immediately." For several tense moments, there was no response. The Alliance ships continued their approach, weapons hot. Then, finally, "Shuttlecraft, you are ordered to dock with the command vessel. Any deviation will be considered hostile action." Vela guided the shuttle toward the largest Alliance ship. As they approached, Karen placed a hand on her arm. "Whatever happens," he said quietly, "thank you for believing us." The docking procedure was automated and swift. As the airlock cycled, armed guards surrounded them. Commander Zex himself waited beyond, his tall form imposing in full battle armor. "You have 2 minutes to convince me not to execute you both for treason," he said without preamble. Vela straightened to her full height, her antennae erect in formal challenge, a rarely used Meridian custom that demanded attention from a superior. "The humans saved themselves from extinction," she said firmly, "just as our people would have done, just as any species would. They've lived in hiding, developed technologies we can barely comprehend, and monitored threats to the galaxy that we've been blind to." She activated a data crystal containing everything she'd learned about the Harbinger. "This entity will reach our homeworld in less than 3 months. It has already destroyed 7 uninhabited systems. The humans detected it decades ago and have been studying it ever since. And why would these humans care about the fate of Meridian Prime?" Zex demanded. "Because despite everything," Karen stepped forward, "we haven't forgotten what it means to be human. Compassion isn't a weakness. It's our greatest strength. Zex regarded them both with cold calculation. And what would you have us do? Trust creatures who deceived the entire galaxy for centuries? No, Vela said. I'm asking you to trust evidence, to trust science. Even if the Harbinger is only a possibility, can we afford to ignore it? A tense silence filled the chamber as Zex considered her words. Finally, he turned to one of his officers. Analyze this data. Priority 1. To Vela, he said, if this is deception, you will both be executed immediately. It's not deception, Vela assured him. But while your analysts work, the human colony is still under attack. Those people have done nothing wrong except survive. That is for the Council to decide, Zex replied coldly. We don't have time for council deliberations, Karen interjected. The Harbinger won't wait for political consensus. Before Zex could respond, an officer approached with a datapad. The commander reviewed the information, his expression shifting almost imperceptibly. Initial analysis confirms an approaching anomaly, he admitted reluctantly. Its nature is consistent with the data you provided. Then you know I'm telling the truth, Vela pressed. Zex was silent for a long moment, clearly weighing his options. Finally, he activated his communication device. All units, stand down attack preparations. Maintain current positions but cease aggressive actions. To Vela and Karen, he said, this doesn't mean I trust you or these humans, but I won't risk ignoring a potential threat to Meridian Prime. It wasn't victory, but it was a start. 3 days later, Vela stood before the hastily assembled Galactic Emergency Council. Representatives from 12 Alliance species gathered to address the Harbinger threat. Beside her stood Karen and 3 other human scientists, their presence causing a storm of whispers and pointed glares. The evidence was undeniable. The Harbinger was real, and it was coming. More importantly, the humans had spent decades developing potential countermeasures, technologies the Alliance hadn't even conceived of. We propose a joint operation. Director Imani, now representing humanity officially for the first time in 2 centuries, addressed the Council. Our phase shift technology combined with Alliance resource networks might be able to divert the Harbinger's path. Why should we trust you? Asked the Voltar representative, his scaled face twisted in suspicion. You deceived us about your very existence. Because the alternative is extinction, Karen replied simply. True extinction this time, for all of us. The debate raged for hours. Old prejudices and fears surfaced repeatedly. Yet slowly, pragmatism began to win out over history. Vela watched from the sidelines, her role as mediator now largely ceremonial. She caught Karen's eye across the chamber and saw in his expression a cautious hope. 2 weeks later, a joint fleet, Alliance and human vessels working side by side, deployed at the calculated interception point. The massive phase shift array, built with human design and Alliance resources, waited in position. Vela stood on the bridge of the command ship alongside Commander Zex and Kieran. Before them, space itself seemed to warp and distort as the Harbinger approached, a roiling mass of energy that defied description. Energy levels rising, reported a technician. Phase shift array at 90% capacity. All ships, maintain position, Zex ordered, tension evident in his voice. The Harbinger loomed closer, its massive form dwarfing their fleet. Sensors screamed warnings as reality itself bent around the phenomenon. Now, Kieran shouted. The phase shift array activated, sending a concentrated beam of energy directly into the Harbinger's path. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the cosmic anomaly began to change course, just a few degrees at first, then more drastically. It's working, Vela breathed. Alarms blared as the array began to overload from the strain. One by one, the emitters burned out, but by then, the Harbinger's trajectory had already shifted enough to miss Meridian Prime by several million kilometers. As the threat receded, a stunned silence fell over the bridge, followed by eruptions of relief and celebration. Humans and Alliance members embraced without thought to centuries of distrust. Karen turned to Vela, his face weary but triumphant. What happens now? Vela looked around at the mixed crew, species that had once been enemies working together in perfect harmony when it mattered most. Now, she said, we rewrite history, the true history. In the months that followed, humanity gradually emerged from hiding. The truth about the final war was revealed, with both sides acknowledging their roles in the conflict. It wasn't easy. Centuries of propaganda and prejudice couldn't be undone overnight. But as human innovation merged with Alliance resources, advancements flourished. The phase-shift technology that had saved Meridian Prime was just the beginning. Together, they developed new methods of space travel, medicine, and communication. 1 year after the Harbinger's diversion, Vela stood in the Great Hall of Knowledge on Meridian Prime. Before her rose a new monument, a simple plaque commemorating the day humans and the Alliance joined forces to save a world. Kieran joined her, now an official human diplomat to the Meridian people. Not bad for a species that was supposed to be extinct, he remarked. Vela's antennae twitched in amusement. Not bad for a myth. Beyond the hall's crystal dome, ships from a dozen worlds moved through the sky. Among them, the distinctive silhouettes of human vessels, no longer hidden, no longer feared. The myth had become reality, and the galaxy was stronger for it.